Oh, they've done it! Terodde, an instant hero! Can you believe it? Plenty attacking! No! The comeback is complete! A stunning second half from Schalke!
Herzlich willkommen zurück auf SchalkeMerica. Welcome to episode 176. Blau und Weiß sein Leben lang. I'm your host, Franky Kramer. Joining me as always, my co-host, Jack Mangan. How you doing, Jack?
Doing all right. Interesting English Ivaka, wouldn't you say? Some ups, some downs, some big downs, some mild ups, but actually a decent amount to talk about, I feel like.
Yeah, it's an English Volca that started with Eintracht Frankfurt, obviously, losing that game 3-0. The game was fairly close until the end, obviously. Go to RB Leipzig that next Tuesday, just a few days later, and we thought, let's see what we can do here. We saw what we did. They come out like 4-0 in the first half or something crazy, and they ended up blowing us out of the water 6-1. We did see Soichiro Kazuki get his first goal in the Bundesliga, which is great to see. He's been really positive so far, second half of the season. Up to that point, and then we finished it off with Koln in a 0-0 game, which is probably the better of the three games, I would say. Would you agree with that, Jack?
Yeah, I would agree with your take overall. I think you said the Frankfurt game, not a good scoreline ultimately, but probably a slightly better performance than the scoreline would have indicated. That left us going into the Leipzig match midweek. Certainly not optimistic. Just in general, because obviously, the form that we're in relative to them and, the talent golf and everything, that was actually a little bit more of a disheartening loss than I would have expected, though, just because the first half in particular, we did not look like a Bundesliga team. Like, in comparison to them on the pitch, like you can lose games and lose games badly, but kind of look like you belong. But I mean, I think some of our defensive players looked like they were in the middle of like a rondo. Like in the first half, sometimes they were just like, Leipzig, the way they were moving the ball, like how cleanly and quickly, was just, I thought, more than we could handle. We settled down a little bit in the second half and had some decent spells where we were kind of in the game and putting them under a little bit of pressure, but then ultimately kind of collapsed again for a couple more goals later on. Timo Werner, I continue to despise that individual. And I'm not happy that he's back in the
Tell us how you really feel, Jack.
And scoring as opposed to just like being sad at Chelsea. As you said, though, Kazuki gets his goal, very well taken, very well manipulated to even kind of like get into that 1v1 with the keeper in the first place. And then, some new signings, some new faces coming in for the Cologne match this past weekend, and not the 3 points that we needed, but at least get something out of it for the first time in a while.
Yeah, 100%. Before we get any further, Glück auf to everyone in the chat, El Wafflo, Nonder Footy, Dirk, Anthony, we all see you there. If you're out, whoever else, so let us know where you're listening in from. Welcome to the therapy session tonight. We'll welcome all the Stuttgart, Bochum, and Hertha fans as well, joining us at the bottom of the table. We're holding up the whole place here, but it's an interesting start to the second half of the season. Obviously, that Leipzig match was just complete ass. Honestly, it was a really poor display. And the commentators even said, "Oh, Schalke looks better now." I'm like, dude, we're down 6-1. We're not better. We're better, maybe technically, but would you agree with that assessment, with that comment that we're better, even though you were down 6-1 in the game? Oh, Schalke looked better at least.
I mean, I don't recall hearing that specifically in the commentary. I mean, maybe they were referencing one of those spells in the second half of the game where we looked slightly better, and once again, at least looked like we could kind of play with them to some extent. But I mean, some of these losses, like, doesn't matter how bad you are. At some point, like, you have to find a way to not concede 6 goals. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you need to lose a game 3-0, 4-0, that's fine. But like, at some point, you have to be able to just like set up shop and just shut the game down, even if you're not going to provide anything going forward. And so, some of these huge deficits are not going to be helping us out at the end of the season. If for some reason we are able to kind of pull ourselves back into some semblance of a relegation fight, we're not really in a fight at the moment. We would have to get a couple results going before we could really be there.
Yeah, for sure. And for that reason, this is therapy session. We're drinking tonight. Well, I'm drinking tonight. Jack, I think, is always drinking. But I got me a little whiskey tonight. Jack, what are you drinking tonight?
Schalke themed this evening.
Hey-o!
With the Veltman's Pilsner. But
nice.
Yeah. Last weekend it was the Japanese whiskey in honor of Kazuki, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to give me some Japanese whiskey myself. Nonder Footy's drinking Heavy Seas Chocolate Volcano Stout. Okay. Good to see you, Eric. Good to see you, Eric. Yeah, so the game against Koln. Well, first off, let's look at the lineups because certainly an interesting lineup compared to what we had seen previously. Fairman back in our lives, back in goal. Kind of happy to see him, actually. I don't know how you felt, but I kind of was happy to see Fairman after all the issues we had with Schwoloff. We had Yoshida, Kraus, Latza back in the starting lineup. Terodde, Bulter, Urnen. Schalke get his first start to the left wing. Mercedes Jens, as they call him. Moritz Jens in central defense, along with Yoshida, and then Brunner on the right, and then Kozuki on the right wing. I like the lineup. Obviously, seeing Jens in there, I wasn't sure, but I was obviously hopeful. We've just shipped up 6 goals in the last game, so it had to be an improvement, I would think. I was scared at first because I didn't even see the lineups. I just saw the players coming out, and I thought, is that Kalacic coming out already? But it was Jens, and I'm happy Jens I think played pretty well. What are your thoughts on the lineup and the reemergence of Fairman?
Yeah, I mean, don't want to make too much out of one performance from any player, but I mean, Jens I think potentially could be a huge signing for us down the stretch. Once again, if for some reason we are able to figure out, how to play football at least somewhat competitively, and are able to pull ourselves into a chance where we're actually fighting for something, I think that could end up being a very big signing. The Yoshida Matriciani situation was just untenable. Even though Matriciani had 1 or 2 performances where he actually did kind of admirably well, given what he was up against, it's not a Bundesliga center back pairing, as we've said. So I think Jens is a huge signing for him to come in. Who knows when Vandenberg's coming back? Hopefully he's back before the end of the season at some point. But yeah, in his absence, we really needed another proper center back. Jens, I thought, played very well. In this one, is definitely a little bit more rangy than Yoshida at times too, which is helpful. Schalke getting a start. I mean, we signed him presumably for a reason, obviously to try to help offensively. Not surprised to see him in there, getting a look. And then the other big one, like you said, Fairman, which I'm not upset about at all. I think Schwoloff has made far too many mistakes this season. If people think it's harsh to bench him, that's fine. I know Schalke have sometimes been a little bit trigger happy with rotating keepers over the past couple of years, and Fairman's had his share of those mistakes as well. So it's not like you're guaranteeing that you're going to a steady hand in Fairman, but yeah, I wasn't upset by it. It actually gave me a little confidence seeing him back in there. I think it's good for the morale of the club too. Yeah. Can't really say how good his performance was because I don't think Koln had any shots on target on this one, so it wasn't exactly tested. But his distribution was okay. I thought he was actually decent with his feet in this game, which has always been sort of one of the weaker parts of his game as well too. So hopefully he gets a run on the side and is able to keep it clean. I think that'd be nice.
The positive is he got a shutout, right? But like you said, Koln only had 6 shots in the game, 0 on target. So yeah, it kind of helps when you get a shutout that way, right? But I think we've seen, Schalke's seen for sure that we've given up goals when there hasn't been a shot on target. So it happens, right? And so the fact that we got a shutout, that's a positive there. Yeah, I agree with your comment about Jens. Schalke was good to see him on the left wing. I agree with some of the comments I've seen about him that he's a little bit slower paced. We saw that in a couple of exchanges where Schalke had a couple of breakouts and he just didn't have the pace to keep up. I think Kozuki or somebody kind of let him out and he just didn't have the pace. He's been okay. It's been very chaotic, I think, as somebody put it. But at least he's playing a left wing position. And I think this is a position even Tobias Moore could thrive in because he's not playing left wing back. He's playing a left wing position, which is his natural position. Urunen has been okay. Overall, I thought Kraus is pretty typical. Ecstatic to see Salazar back. You mentioned the boost, seeing Fairman back in there, and I think seeing Salazar back on the pitch too was an instant impact. I thought we still were struggling that last third, the last pass in the game, but I thought Salazar brought a lot of things in there, and I'm excited to see the potential of what Kozuki and Salazar could do together, where they fit in this lineup together. I mean, Kozuki's obviously in the right, but where Salazar lines up to be determined. But I know Nonder's Footy says there's some bright spots. I think there certainly was.
No, I mean, yeah, listen, Koln's had a couple good results since coming back from the break. They're having a decent campaign. I think I think their performance in this game was disappointing and certainly not up to the level that they had kind of put in so far this season. I think Schalke deserves some credit for that because I do think we were well organized, although I just think it was kind of an off day for Koln. But Salazar, yeah, I mean, this is a guy that was coming into the season we knew was going to be one of our more important players. He and Terodde were probably the two most important players for us in the second division last season. But I think that going into the top flight, we were probably more confident that Salazar would be able to maintain that level than Terodde would. Unfortunately, it's kind of worked out that way. But Salazar, part of that huge crop of injuries that have, as you and I have talked about at the top of the season, I think maybe the first couple games were like, hey, we're not good, but like we may be able to hang around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then all the injuries hit. And then suddenly we just didn't even have a squad that I felt like was a Bundesliga level squad. Salazar's a huge part of that.
Yeah.
So good to have him back in the lineup. I think within the first minute and a half that he was on the pitch, made a big defensive play, kind of pirouetted and ended up going on like a 30-yard run that led to him, I don't think they ended up calling a foul, but he kind of drew a foul and like got the ball away. It's that kind of stuff. It's the ball progression in terms of him like on the dribble in the center of the pitch, and then just popping up in the right areas on a lot of different occasions. Like he was ending up on the ends of like loose balls around the box to get a shot in. He played a phenomenal through ball to Kazuki.
Yes.
Once again, within a couple minutes of coming on the pitch, like it's just like that kind of incisive passing has been so absent in the final third, and he does it like immediately, and then goes to the Nordkurve, to get them pumped up.
Yeah.
You can see that he has a connection with the fans. That's a mutual connection that some of the other players don't have too. So he was huge. I think we were unlucky ultimately not to get a goal in this one. I think this is the second time in 3 games we've won the XG battle, and we've only scored once. That was against Leipzig, funny enough.
I know.
But yeah, I think. Let me just say one other thing. Sorry, I know I'm kind of rambling on this point, but last week we talked about, I'm not optimistic. Like I don't think the squads are that kind of a thing. We brought in Jens midweek, which I hadn't been expecting, and now we have Salazar back. If we have a competent center back pairing, not great, but just a competent center back pairing, you have the emergence of Kazuki on the right. You can play Salazar centrally. Suddenly the squad starts to look slightly better. We haven't had any offensive thrust for a large part of the season, and that Salazar thing is going to be huge. So we'll see. I think I'm not optimistic still in terms of our chances for safety, but if we can stay healthy and we have a squad that was kind of looking, because what's going to be up, we brought like Drexler off the bench in the second half there, and like Drexler was fresh and looking good and everything. Like suddenly I was like, okay, and we have like a squad again a little bit. So I don't know. What were your thoughts overall?
Yeah, overall, I agree with those sentiments there. I think Mercedes Jens kind of made a really great performance as well. You kind of talked about it. 2 minutes into the game, he nearly had a goal right there off a header. It's gonna be he's gonna be valuable on set pieces. We know Yoshida's pretty good on set pieces. Jens will be as well. It would have been fantastic had he scored that. I agree with Dirk's comment that with Jens back there, kind of stabilized the defense, and Fairman looked more confident because of it. He came out and challenged balls that were in the air. He punched balls away. He caught balls, which he was tentative when he did that. And the last time he had started. So
that's a fair point, and that's been an issue for Schwalov as well. Is him being shaky in the air. So you're right about that. That's a good call.
Yeah. So I was happy with that performance, and I think overall, I thought, and this is me being honest, I think, and it's not because I'm biased or anything, I think Schalke was the better of the two teams in this one. And I know Koln are what are they? They're currently 12th in the table right now. I thought we were the better team. That we were just missing literally that last pass where someone go in the box, and whether it's Salazar to Kazuki, whether it's Bulter to Terodde or whatever, that last pass has failed every time. We looked competent up until that point. And they even announced it during the game. It's like, well, there's a lack of quality you're seeing, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's rushing. Maybe it's a whole bunch of other things. But I think, as like you said, as our bodies start getting healthier, start getting these guys back, I feel more confident with those players as opposed to the injured bunch we had, which were not Bundesliga level for most of the positions. But now seeing guys like Drexler, Salazar back, see Oyan if he comes back, Tobias Moore playing in his natural position, these guys could help us and feed Terodde. If Terodde's got to get the ball in the right position. Yeah.
The rare occasions we do get into the final third, we've just been lacking quality. Not even for like the final ball, but like the second to last ball. Yeah. Just like the one pass that you need once you've kind of broken through to set up, just like kind of set up the chance. And so many, and like even people like Bolter, who I thought was industrious in this game and worked hard and actually did some good things like defensively away from the ball, but just like not clean, not particularly effective in possession. You see Zalazar come in and just offer that little bit of quality that we've been missing, which was great. I also think that he opens up other things for other people. And particularly when you're in a team that may not have quite the caliber of talent that you need at times to kind of play at the speed that the Bundesliga demands and make the decisions quicker, the more space you can get because you have a guy in the center of the pitch that's demanding a lot of defensive attention. It might buy you that extra split second that that maybe you wouldn't have with the composure normally, whatever, to like make the right pass, that kind of thing. It opens other things up for his teammates. I think you actually saw that with Dani Latza before he got subbed off. When Zalazar and Dani Latza were on the pitch together, suddenly Dani Latza started saucing it up a little bit more in terms of some of the passes he was playing.
Yeah,
he had a little bit more time to operate like in midfield, that kind of a thing. And I actually want to shout out Dani Latza again. I think that's another performance from him that I thought he was pretty good in overall. Better defensively than I would have expected. Has some great, tracking back runs where he's really kind of throwing himself into tackles and offering a little bit of the quality that I think some other people are lacking on the ball at the moment.
Yeah, I also want to give a shout out to all the guys like Latza and Kraus and Kozuki, guys who lost possession and we quickly try to get the ball back. And the fans loved it. I love to see it where you lose the ball, but you're hustling back and you're making the play to either break it up or get the ball back. And you saw that in boatloads of plays, especially the young guys. Kraus is doing it all season long, but Latza was doing it, Kozuki was doing it, Terodde to an extent, Bulter as well. It poses an interesting question, and I mean, you can look at stats right here. Look, 17 shots to 6 in our favor, 2 shots on target versus 0 for them. Our XG was something like almost 1.25 or something like that, which is decent. We had no goals. We should have scored. We just didn't. But overall, we were just a better team. We had more possession. Overall, it's just that last bit of play that was missing, and it poses an interesting question now because we've seen Schalke play. That was his first game. Could have been maybe rust or whatever. He didn't play much for Union. So who do you play on the left side? Is it Schalke? Is it Tobias Moore? Is it Bulter? Who do you play in the middle? Is it Bulter? Is it Zalazar? Kozuki has to play on the right.
Yeah. The left side, I think you're correct, is probably the biggest trouble spot for me. And I mean, I don't know how you feel about Zalazar getting full 90s as opposed to like 60s or like 30-minute cameos. I know there's been kind of different usages of him over time in terms of his durability and everything. He should be pretty freaking fresh at the moment, right? Yeah. Only played like a month and then got injured from October. But to me, I think Zalazar if you're going to be playing a 4-2-3-1, which has kind of been our default shape, I think Zalazar has to be at the 10.
Yeah.
And then the question is Bulter benched? Is Bulter playing left wing? Because we know that Bulter can either play kind of second striker or can kind of play that, he can move around a little bit. I think because you just brought Schalke in, like he's going to have to get a couple more opportunities, obviously, to show like they're going to want to use him. I thought, he was, a little bit. I don't know if rusty's the right word, potentially, because he hasn't really gotten any minutes this season, so you could totally understand that when he had like 45 minutes before we loaned him in. I thought he was a little bit better in the first half in particular, got in behind a little bit more, he had some good progressive passes in this one, but ultimately not too clean. So we'll have to see how he develops. Tobias Moore, regardless of what position you've played him in this year, has been pretty bad, unfortunately. Whether it's, left wing back, whether it's more up the pitch, like he hasn't done particularly great. I'm not opposed to seeing those things again, but to me, it's Zalazar has to be on the pitch. He's one of your X factors. He was one of your best players coming into the season. He immediately looked like that in his cameo. I think you have to maximize the amount of minutes that you can give him from here on out.
Yeah, and I think Kozuki's locked up his spot. I mean, he's been the best player in the second half of the season. He's been just amazing, I think, and he's shown all the energy to going for it one-on-one. Shout out to Bozduan, who lit it up this past weekend too and got a lovely assist for the game winner. But shouldn't talk, right? But no, I think Zalazar is a lock. He has to be in that 10 position. And I was kind of debating it myself, and I was like, well, Bulter plays well as a second striker, so you like him to 10, but it's like you can't not have Zalazar there. And Kral, having him back, possibly in the lineup with Kraus. Kraus is a lock in the middle, I think. Even though Latza's been playing well the last 2 games, it's really those 3 really for the middle right now. So Zalazar has to be the middle, and then it's between Bulter and Schalke. And I agree with your point about you got to get the new kid at least another opportunity, right? He was everywhere, but he was look rusty. So maybe another game will do him good. And you can always bring Bulter off the bench, whether for Zalazar or Schalke or Drexler, obviously as well. I think Drexler, good to see him back as well. So I think there's a lot of potential there. And pieces are starting to come around. Brunner, I thought was okay in the game overall, but I think it's that final play has to finish. We have to score a goal. Need to get shots on target. I mean, Schalke, Salazar, Terodde, all of our guys, Kazuki as well, had shots. A lot of them were high and wide. I mean, we had 2 on target of the 17. We need to do better than that department. That's
Agreed.
a lot of
Yeah,
big
absolutely.
problem why we're not scoring. So
I think part of that is just the quality of the chances that we created. I mean, we did have, was like 1.2 xG.
Yeah.
Most of that xG came from Morris Jensen's header and then also Tom Krause's header in like the 65th minute, which I think was like a 0.3, 0.4 xG opportunity that he just hit over the bar. I mean, you know what I mean? So those are like not necessarily, hey, look at the great things that we're creating. Those are like, set piece, point blank header opportunities where a lot of our our goal threats coming from. But you certainly feel a whole lot better about potential goal threat with the Kazuki Salazar pairing. I think it is the striker position and the left wing position that are kind of the ones that are contestable at the moment. I think Frey has looked better than Terodde.
More mobile.
Like, I mean, because Frey's pretty strong too, but Frey definitely covers more ground. I think he's combined a little bit better with his teammates, obviously assisted Kazuki, but he's had more moments where he seemed to be able to impact the game than Terodde has. Like Terodde just, we talk about, Terodde doesn't have enough service, so it's kind of unfair to judge him. I think Fry is even, despite like the lack of service, has found more ways to get involved than Terodde.
I mean, he was right there on the doorstep at the end of the game where he just missed a play. He was a little wide, but yeah, I mean, as much as we love Terodde, he's the championship Charlie of this division, right? I would not be opposed to seeing Fry start the game, even though Fry started, I think, the Leipzig match, right? I don't blame him at all for that result. The whole team was bad. I wouldn't mind seeing Fry again from the start and maybe bring Terodde off the bench just to see if Fry can do something against the likes of Gladbach. Gladbach, we've played them better than we have, some of these other teams who we got Gladbach coming up this weekend, this Saturday. They're like 8th in the table or something. They're mid-table team at the moment. But yeah, it's that final third. I think I'm curious to see what the XA was because I think, our XG was totally based off of 2 plays. But I thought the buildup was much better in this game than we had seen in a while. It's just, again, the final 1 or 2 passes at the end that thwarted us, whether it's the left wing or the striker. I think if we get those final plays and get a shot off, the XG goes up. But we're not getting there. We need to get those final pieces, and whatever it takes, whether it's Fry coming in, putting it in Schalke or Bolter on the left, I don't know, whatever it is, we got to figure out a way to get it because you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get out of this league, or you're not going to stay in this league without goals. You need goals. We're at the bottom of the table, like you said. We need to get some results. We got some teams that we could be here that are in our realm coming up, and so we need to do the job before the big River Derby. So, I mean, we're 4 points now behind Hertha, which is 2 results. Same thing with Bochum and Stuttgart. 2 results away from there, assuming they get losses in their games. So it's not out of the realm. We went on a run end of last year, like some people said in the chat. We'll see, but it's still. I'm with you. I'm still.
Yeah. And when I'm saying like, oh, we need to like, we're not even in the fight at the moment. I understand what you're saying. It's 4 points from Hertha. Yeah. I'm saying we haven't looked like we're close to winning a game in a while, and so I mean, like until I see us pick up 3 points at some point, I'm not even going to consider us in the fight whatsoever. But. No, your point's taken. I certainly do think also, despite maybe the lack of results being there, I do think the performances have been better under Rice. I think we just need to cut down on the individual mistakes, and then hopefully now that we have some depth coming in terms of returning players and also some new additions, that we can potentially be a little bit more competitive in the second half of the season.
How about the ultras coming out to practice like they did at Parkstadion and freaking that was awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah, I saw a video that, as Dirk mentions in the chat there. Yeah, that was great to see. And those are the kind of moments that you see that online, and you're like, yeah, this is why I love my club. Part of the reason it's that kind of spirit in the team, and that's the thing is like, I think a lot of Schalke supporters have obviously going into the season with our eyes wide open. We know the situation that we're in, and the uphill battle that we face, and the prospect of this potentially being a yo-yo situation for a bit until we can get on better footing. Obviously, we don't want that to be the case, but no guarantee that we stay up. And I think that there hasn't been much for us to cheer about in terms of what we've been seeing on the pitch, and the fact that you can have that many supporters come out to a training session and put on that kind of show of support speak volumes about the passion and the fan base and everything.
Yeah, a lot of friends of the show were at that practice there, so it's just cool to see. You got to watch all their videos from different angles. It's pretty neat. But yeah, An improved performance against Koln. Koln is a good team. They won maybe unjustly in the first game of the season, with the red card to Drexler and some skeptical calls. I think there was actually one call in the game which I'm surprised didn't go to VAR, but whatever. It is what it is. A 0-0 game. We didn't create enough chances, honestly, to bitch. You gonna say something?
No, I thought we got the shortness of refereeing decisions in both Leipzig and in Cologne. The Leipzig game, it didn't, and I'm not complaining about that in terms of that changed the outcome of the game. Like, it absolutely did not. It certainly did not. But it was still annoying because I felt like we missed. And then also, same thing in the Cologne match as well. And there were some weird potential handball opportunities in this one too. I'm sure VAR was on top of that, but haven't been thrilled with our refereeing.
Yeah, I know there was a shout with one of the Cologne defenders, and I was like, "Oh, it's a handball." And then go back to replay, you saw it was clearly off his chest. I'm like, "All right, Kazuki was just trying to get the call. I can't blame him, right?" But no, it's better performance, definitely better than the Leipzig match, and better than the Frankfurt game to an extent, especially result wise. Got a point, not ideal, but I guess didn't lose, so it's a slight positive. So we'll see. We got Gladbach coming up. We've had good results against them, but we need to continue what we're doing. And I was looking at the comments, some of the players were having. Jens was saying basically hey, we haven't given up. We feel strong after the last game. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep fighting. He said we're going to be very aggressive. We're going to keep playing hard, and we haven't lost our way yet, which is good to see. Well, it's a new band, but still that's good to hear. And then Salazar as well, said hey, this is just momentum for the next game. We're going to try to win the next game going forward. We have a good feeling about how we're playing now. So let's see. It's quite possible. We just got to get some goals, man. We got to get some goals. Got to find a way.
Salazar was playing like a man who's tired of watching football from the sidelines and was, happy to be part of the action. So I think we're so much more dynamic with him on the pitch, and that obviously is going to naturally increase some of the optimism going forward.
As Dirk says, baby steps, right? Baby steps. You see goals first, and then we can go try to get big results, stringing results. Schalke Canada says, with this group now getting healthy, they may even look to the top. Yeah, Kiki Top's been doing well with the youth team. Gets back into game shape with the Kanapi Schmida. I can see him making his debut this season. Yeah, we may have to rely, if some of the vets, some of the guys we relied on last year are not doing what we expect them to do. Try some of the youth players we saw in the past, especially that, not the only relegation season, but the season before that, relying on some of the youth players like Malik Chow kind of emerged because we played the youth, right? And some of these other guys, obviously, Timo Becker was a guy who played really well that when he got his opportunities. So relying on the youth players is something we may have to do, especially, in key positions where the results aren't coming, particularly left wing and maybe even striker position. So who knows? But we'll see. A good stretch here coming up.
Good shout from Schalke Canada, who I believe had some representation in the Feltons Arena this past weekend.
Yes, they did. It was good to see. I love seeing the pictures. I'm glad they shared that with us. Jake is in the house. As Sidi Sane,
shout out.
Get him out there. Hell yes. Why not? Well, why not? Look at the next games ahead. Gladbach game. It's certainly not out of the question to get a result there. Wolfsburg coming up. Why not? Union Berlin at Union is going to be a difficult ask, especially with the news that they just got Isco from Real Madrid.
That'll be the game we win for no reason.
Probably will. That's going to be, we're going to be like, how did that happen? But whatever, we'll take it, right? Stuttgart, that's a team we're fighting with relegation at the moment. Bochum as well. That mini Rivier Derby before the Rivier Derby. So if we get a nice bit of results here before the Rivier Derby, anything is possible with the down the stretch.
Yeah. But I honestly don't even care what happens in like the Union game. Like, I just need the relegation 6-pointers.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's at least 2 games there, Stuttgart and Bochum, that we have to get results. Wolfsburg, why not? And Gladbach. If we get those 2, get some kind of result, better. But we got to get at least 6 from Stuttgart and Bochum. No disrespect to our friends and the other podcasts for Stuttgart Americana and Bochum, but we got to do what we got to do. We got to stay in the league. We got to survive, because the big thing is the thing that's looming over all of us is the debt that we're in, right? And if we continue to yo-yo, who knows when we're going to get out of this debt? I mean, it might be decades. It might be over a decade. Now, if we stay in the Bundesliga somehow, I can see us getting out of debt within 3 to 4 years. Obviously with good results, but if we keep going back up and down, it's going to be forever to get out of the debt, and we're going to be a team that's struggling. We're a yo-yo team.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Schalke financials, is there a sell-on clause in our contract with Juve?
Yes.
Because I'm just throwing that out because McKennie obviously going to Leeds. I think it's an option to buy, right? It's a loan for the time being, option to buy. So who knows if that's going to. But I'm wondering if that gets triggered into a permanent deal. If we might have some cash coming our way.
Cash will be coming our way.
Probably not much, but anyway, just wanted to throw that out there.
I mean, the rumor is if Leeds end up buying Weston McKennie from Juventus, it's going to be a 33 million euro deal. So we're going to see some change from that. It's got to be more than what we have right now in the bank. Maybe that's worth a new coach. Maybe it's worth new players. Who knows? Knabel has been doing surprisingly well. This with what limited funds he has and resources he has. I mean, obviously Jens and Kozuki and some of these other guys, Schalke as well. So yeah, we'll see. But we gotta stay in the league. We have to stay in the league and regain our foothold as one of the top teams in the league. But baby steps, as Dirk says, and let's get some goals. Let's get some goals. Any predictions for the Gladbach games? Oh, not predictions. At least what you want to see from that game.
I want to try to see us. I mean, it's tough when you're playing like this. You want to see us so much. I think the Koln game was a huge positive in terms of the defensive organization and the fact that we didn't ship 3 or 6 goals. So I'd like to try to see if we can I mean, obviously keep a clean sheet if we can, but not concede more than like 2.
Yeah.
At least if we're losing games, I don't want us to be like killing our goal difference more than we need to. Yeah, hopefully we see some more of Salazar and see some improved attack going forward. Maybe even if that doesn't, ultimately get converted into to goals on the score sheet. But I would just like to see us get a little bit more dangerous and give us some hope that we can bang some goals in. Because as they always say, defense wins championships, but you have to score goals at some point if you're going to get points in the Bundesliga, and we just have not been able to do that.
Yeah, but goals saves you from relegation, right? Yeah, we'll see. I agree with you. I kind of want to see more of what we saw in the Cologne matchup, both defensively and for the most part offensively. The shots. We got a lot of shots. We need to see more shots on target. 2 is not good enough. Excuse me. Whiskey's kicking in. But we need to get more shots on target, and we need to get more goals. I think if we can we just got to play well defensively. I don't know. I'm willing to give you Sheeta another try. I mean, we got a shut obviously with him in his last game, but ultimately, I think it's going to be Kaminsky and Jens maybe going forward. We'll see, but we saw a little bit of Kaminsky, I think, in the friendly. But yeah, more what we saw Cologne, and you got to finish those chances. We have to. Salazar and Kozuki, some more of that, please. Those passes through passes, and Kozuki can finish them off. Whatever we can do, whatever it takes to get goals, just do it. Do it. Set pieces, I don't care. We just got to do it. The results will come.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think to Jacob's point in the chat here, he's like, we got to steal a couple of surprising results from now to the end of the season. I think that's true as well. So as much as I was just saying, we got to have the relegation 6-pointers. Like, we're going to have to find a way to have some weird things bounce our way. And we haven't been able to get a whole lot of luck at this point in the season. And there's going to have to be probably 1 or 2 games where there's a weird deflection, right? That just gives us a goal that we probably didn't earn or something along those lines. And if we're going to find a way to get out of this, but we'll see. Still believing in Rice in terms of giving him a chance to do what he can. Leipzig match aside, which was obviously very bad, and I don't want to just sweep it under the rug. But Leipzig match aside, I think 2 of the 3 games we've looked better than we had, and that's something. Is it enough? Probably not, but it's something. So there's that.
Yeah, I think it's the teams that are okay. Frankfurt was a really good team, but against teams this year that have been in and around us within arm's reach, we've looked decent. How we play against the rest of the teams that are top tier is going to be interesting to me because, if you do well against the bottom feeders, that's great. But you also got to look respectable in the games against the top tier teams. What we saw against Union Berlin earlier this season, what we saw against Leipzig, you can't have that. Next time we play another team that's in the top, top whatever, we got to play better. And whether it's grinding out a 0-0 result or getting a point, whatever, we got to figure it out. But yeah, let's go baby steps and see what we can do here. I still believe in Rice. I like what he's doing. I especially love the pressing and the recovery of the ball once they lose possession. Those have been things I've seen much more improved than we saw previously. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like how much Rice is spreading us out in our buildup as well. Really trying to make the defense, the opposition, cover a lot of the pitch. The only issue I have with that sometimes is just that when you talk about the lack of quality that we have on the ball, sometimes if the goalkeeper whips out a ball to an isolated, right back or something in Bruner, and he kind of like has a heavy touch, and we turn the ball over, there's not a lot of Schalke players in the area to kind of help try to recover that. The other thing I would just say is I think, particularly in the Leipzig game, which was frustrating to me, the high line that we were playing at times, especially when there was the Matriciani-Yoshida pairing, just seems very naive. That was a huge issue in the Frankfurt game, and the fact that we even tried that against Leipzig, I thought was kind of silly of Rice. But overall, I think once again, there's a lot to like. I think you can tell when a team is just better coached once again, just from like structure and organization, and we have a discernible shape a lot of the times, and people seem to know where they're supposed to be, and so hopefully over the course of time, that's going to help cut down on some of the individual mistakes as well. The more comfortable they get with that, but we'll see.
Yep, I 100% agree with that. So got nothing else much to talk on, I guess. Really, we talked about Gladbach, we talked about the game this past weekend, and how we just in general how we feel. Good to talk about these things when things aren't going well. Little therapy session. Also helps have a little, a drink in hand as well. So anything else you want to chat about tonight, Jack, or should we just wrap this one up?
Let's wrap it up.
All right, let's wrap it up. First of all, thank you to the chat. A lot of people in the chat tonight enjoying the therapy session with us. Hope you had a drink and sit down with us and enjoy this. I certainly enjoyed it, Jack. I don't know about you, but I enjoyed it. It's always good to talk things out and drink, right? But things are on the up. Hopefully, I have confidence in that. Jack, where can our followers find us on social media?
Us or me?
Both.
I don't know if I can do yours for you. Okay. At JMA and JMMANGAN on Twitter.
Beautiful. What's up, Ivan? What's up? Question for the chat. We're always talking on Twitter and all different locations and stuff. Maybe if we just there are obviously Schalke communities that talk to each other in Discord. What if we set up an English Discord, and would you guys be involved in that? Just so we can all centralize a place where we can just talk about Schalke. Get all the groups from Reddit. Let us know in the chat. Let us know on Twitter if you would be down for that. Let's see, try to set something up. We got a website that's coming up as well. SchalkeMerica.com. We're gonna try to write a little bit there. Look in the coming days that we can promote some of that stuff. You can follow us at SchalkeMerica, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere in social media, honestly. Make sure if you haven't done so yet on YouTube, subscribe, like. It would leave a lot to us. You can obviously listen to us anywhere that streams audio. You can follow me if you like at R_KHARMAN. For Jack, I'm Richard. And we'll catch you very, very soon, whether it's the live stream of the game or the next podcast. We'll see, but to be determined. Glück auf.